starting with this English or switching to English now invites me instantly to also comment on this fair play stuff a little more, because there had been a few points about it that I didn't really came to or point out, or I stopped at some point. And okay, of course the English viewers won't have noticed all those. Probably, I can presume, I assume. But here we had this one example, once again, of...
Schön, dass ihr dabei seid. Wir starten heute mal richtig.
So I'm gonna turn this down. No, it doesn't matter that much. But I will... So this was Felix Bastians, and here you can pretty well see that he tried to win a penalty, but this was not so well done. And referee didn't spot it, so he pointed to the spot instead. And but as the Darmstadt players, was Darmstadt against Bochum, as the Darmstadt players pointed out that this was diving and not a penalty. So the referee asked the player whether he had been brought down, and he said no, there was no contact. And so the penalty that had been awarded in the first place had been taken back. So in the process, Bastians, the Bochum captain, got a fair play medal, and this was, from my understanding, this was a bit doubtful, because first of all, it's not fair if you start off with a diving incident, because he was obviously trying to get a penalty for I mean, there was no contact there, and so this is something that the referee would not have asked him. Then most likely the penalty would have stood, so he would not have alerted the referee that he had not been touched. And this is rarely ever happened, but it happened 2 weeks ago or so in England, I think somewhere. But at least sometimes, it does happen, but very rarely and usually. Or there was this Michael Owen penalty when it had been awarded, and he obviously took the penalty so badly that he missed. He failed to score, but he intended to. I mean, he simply shot it wide. So. But those are very rare cases, and sometimes you can if you look at them, most likely the game had been decided or not that important. And in this case here, I mean, if you get what is done here was not quite in the sense of fair play, and then being asked whether he had been brought down, and then saying no, not really. Is rather, well, it's his best choice. This is what I would say. I mean, it's his best choice because he knows that everyone will spot it. I mean, he was trying to win the penalty, but he felt instantly, well, it wasn't so well done. If he hears the whistle, then he might even think, oh, I'm gonna get booked for that one. Then he might be surprised, he found it good enough for a penalty. But when he had been asked, there was not much of a chance that he says, this was a foul, especially taking into account the possible reactions, media reactions, or his reputation, simply, you can say. Because what about him in the future? If you once get accused of diving, and pretty obviously, because Andi Möller is still famous for his diving incidents for Borussia Dortmund, and which was pretty obvious, but it had never been taken back, and Dortmund won the game. but the other incidents I was referring to had been this one from the Euro '96, and it may be a pretty long time ago. But here we have Croatia in the last minute attacking, this defender failing him, the Alpay coming, and maybe he could have brought him down here, but he didn't, and Vlahovic went on and he scored the winner, because this was 1-0 and it was curtains, it was all over. Turkey went out, Croatia went on, although it was the first match day. But there was just this 1 second of a chance, maybe, or split second of a chance for Alpay to bring down Vlahovic. But if he had done so, I mean, so let's look at this second here. So this is the moment. I mean, what would he have to do? I mean, a bad tackle from behind and possibly injure the player and stop him from scoring, being sent off, a free kick, which is not a fair punishment for that, because this was a goal, and the free kick from there with all defenders back, even if one player missing, this is not replacing the goal chance here. So what he did do was avoiding a really bad tackle with a danger of injuring the opposing player. And what he got as a reward for that had been the fair play prize. And this is what I refer to, well, every other day, more or less. Because you can't award a prize for someone avoiding a bad tackle or, I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, what was second place there? I mean, did someone not spit at an opponent while he could have done it? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he did not bring him down, so say, okay, thank you, but I mean, this is the only thing you can do, because you're not asked to Notbremse, what is it, professional foul. You're not asked to do that. I mean, not at all. And this is something. So he went into the record book somehow with a fair play award for this competition. And otherwise, I mean, where would you have landed otherwise? I mean, he lands in the most ugly incidences. This is also, you know, how do you measure? I mean, this is black and white. I mean, either you are the hero or zero. I mean, less than zero. You're minus if you bring him down. So it's silly. I mean, you can't award prizes for people not breaking the rules. I mean, and there are most. I mean, Alpay has been recognized and always good reputation. I mean, of course, he didn't spoil his reputation, but maybe it had been a bit too far. He brought a bit too high. Anyway, there are other incidences, maybe not so well known in the world, but let's see this one. And I forgot to full screen the other one. Well, let's look at this shot. No, this was not the chance. Let's look at the other shot, the next one. So this is the one. Look at that. So no, I'm sorry. We're still not quite there. This is the shot. This is it. And now the defender instantly touches his head, or he's pretending to be okay. So first one might have been the best one. So I'm sorry for this delay here. But this is, now this is what somehow annoys me most. I mean, he took his hand, he handled the ball. This was very obvious. And I mean, the incidents, why it was so spectacular here in Germany was because this player had been asked about this incident. Did you touch the ball with your hand? And he said, no, I didn't. And I mean, this is bad, really bad for his reputation. But what he did was save his club a point And in the process, I think they did not, they avoided relegation, or Cologne did get relegated. I don't know really, I mean, I could look it up, but that's not so important about it. It was an important game, and it was an important, I mean, it was 0-0 then, and would have been 1-0, and it still ended 1-0 in the end. No, Schalke brought the win home, although they shouldn't, because Oliver Held was from Schalke. So the Schalke won it, which they shouldn't have done. But it was, because it's famous because he had been asked what happened, and he said, "I didn't touch the ball with my hand." What I think is, it's not a good decision to ask players about what happened, because you could, I mean, at any point now, and we come to the next example, and this is even weirder in some sense, but I mean, this could have been a clear incident, but there are far less clear incidences. Yeah, I did touch the ball with my hand, but whether or not this should be punished, I don't know. I mean, let's study the book of what are the rules? Let's study the rules. And I have no idea. And so what would you like the players to do? I mean, they can't take over the decisions they can't do the refereeing now, and possibly argue on the pitch whether or not this has been an incident. I mean, they have to decide, and they are even they would yellow card. They would. I just lost the word. They would show yellow cards for attacking them or blaming them for bad decisions. So they can't do that. I mean, you can't argue with all the players about every single decision. So we have this Thierry Henry example too. And here he scored against Ireland, and it had been an important game, and it had been a very important goal. Okay, it was 1-1 in extra time, and it brought France to the Euro, to the World Cup. And here is what happened, and you see 3 replays, and so this should do it. But everyone will remember Thierry Henry took the ball with his hand, and they scored from there. And the goalkeeper, you can even argue, he didn't react anymore properly, because he instantly he clapped his hands to show, well, he handled the ball. So maybe he could even have stopped it. So, but what I would like to point out about this one is that Thierry Henry had been accused for not telling the referee, or not blaming himself. I mean, not telling the ref this was irregular. And this is a bit ridiculous too, because on the one hand, I mean, it's a decisive goal, but you shouldn't argue like that. I mean, if it's more important than even meaner means, or worse means are applicable, this wouldn't work really. But how could you ask a player? Because there are incidences that are less clear than this one, and far less clear than this one. And what would you like to happen on the pitch? I mean, they all start to argue with each other. I mean, I've done this, no, you shouldn't, or I saw this, or maybe, and then we start a discussion. I mean, the video ref they introduced now in German Bundesliga is simply ridiculous. It's a shame. I mean, this is it's good for nothing. It's just no one knows what's going on, and then he holds his headset, and then after a minute or so he says, oh, it's been like this, and they took back a penalty because it had been awarded, but they simply say afterwards, well, there had been an offside before. So this is ridiculous. What would the ref, what would they ask him to do in the future? I mean, rather do not decide for anything. It's ridiculous, it's wrong. So we got all these 3 examples, and this is what I wanted to point out, and I got back to it, and I did it in English this time, and it's 15 minutes now. This is long enough, and hope you enjoyed it, and come back, and I'll be there, and do another one anytime soon. Thanks a lot.